Hello and welcome, everybody. Sorry about the delay in starting. We had a little bit of technical issues, but hopefully they're all fixed, and it is wonderful to have you all here joining us today. Now, we have people here from all over the world, and I would like to wish Eid Mubarak to anybody that's celebrating today. This is a Medox webinar here to show you all about nursing careers in the UK and how we can help you with your path to success. My name is Trudy Winterflood. I'm the Marketing Director here at Drake Medox UK, and I will be hosting today. We have just a couple of housekeeping issues to start off. First of all, please, you can listen attentively and take notes if you wish. Feel free to ask questions at any time in the comment section. Our team will be on hand to reply. Shout out to Ran and Irene, who will be helping us with that today. Our speakers will hold a short Q&A session at the end that they will answer live, but it may not be possible to answer everyone's questions during the event. So we will provide a full list of answers to you via email afterwards. Now, throughout the presentation, we do make reference to various links, and we have got QR codes on screen to help you access those links. If for any reason you aren't able to activate those, we will be sending all of the links in the email afterwards as well. So to introduce our speakers, we have Mairead Murphy, RN. She is our Director of International Recruitment here at Drake Medox UK, and she will be speaking about the opportunities that we have in the UK and explaining the process of becoming a UK RN. And then we have Paul Parlan, who's also a nurse. He is the training manager at ATS Learning Centre, one of our training partners, international training partners, and he will be giving expert CBT and OSCE advice. So without further ado, let me introduce Mairead. Mairead, welcome this morning.
Thank you, Trudy.
All right, I will hand over to you and you can explain to people all the opportunities that we have here in the UK, in the fabulous UK.
Okay, lovely. Are you going to do the slides for me?
I will do the slides for you.
You're
Just say next
okay.
slides.
Thank
Wonderful.
you. Good day, everybody. To those of you who are celebrating today, and thank you for joining us. It's really exciting to have nurses from, I think, about 20 different countries joining us today. So we're delighted. Thank you very much. Trudy, let's move on to our next slide. Okay. I think I did say that I'm Mairead Murphy. I am a nurse myself, but I have been working with Drake Medox for 2 decades. So over that period of time, we have successfully deployed over 20,000 nurses and allied health professionals to the UK from different countries around the globe. In the last few months, we've deployed 300 plus nurses who've arrived in the UK. That's more than 20 every week that are arriving in the UK through Drake Maddox. So we're so excited to get great nurses to join us, particularly in our NHS, our National Health Service, where we're very stressed. We have big shortages, but yeah, thank you for that. And we hope that you'll be some of the next nurses joining us. Okay, next slide, please. Sorry, I have a bit of hay fever this morning. It is important to point out, because we have nurses joining from so many different countries, that the World Health Organization puts together a workforce support and safeguard list. What's that? So it means that the World Health Organization have identified certain countries that have their own nursing shortages, and best practice is not to recruit directly from those countries. So if you want to see the list of those countries, you can check out the QR code here, or just browse on the internet and find out what the list is. We have to adhere to our Department of Health and Social Care Code of Best Practice, which we helped to write actually in the beginning, so that we will not be actively recruiting from certain countries. That said, it's got nothing to do with nationality. It's got to do with your country of residence. So, for example, Nigeria is one of the countries that we're not allowed to actively recruit from. But if you're a Nigerian nurse working in another country, then yes, we can help you. Okay, next slide, please. Why choose the UK? So some of you are in your own home countries. Some of you are already working overseas in another country. The UK, well, I'm Irish, by the way. So I did move from Ireland to the UK to do my nursing. It is a family-friendly country, so it's a good place to bring up children, because we have free access to healthcare. I don't know if you know about our NHS, our National Health System, but if you need to see a GP, if you need treatment in a hospital, you don't pay anything. Education is also free up to the age of 18. University, you do usually have to pay for. You can get residency after 5 years in the UK, so, and 6 years, I think, a UK passport if you wanted to. Most important, I think, is that everybody, every nurse from wherever you are in the world, gets the same salary equivalent to the UK nurses. You have the same opportunities for promotions and career advancement, and it's just it's a nice and welcoming place to live. But particularly healthcare professionals and nurses are very well respected in the UK. So I think some of those things that we've highlighted, why choose the UK, is because of feedback that we've had from nurses working in other countries where they don't necessarily have that equity. Next slide, please, Judy. So you've chosen the UK, yay. But why choose Drake Maddox? Well, again, we've been a long time in this business, and we've maintained a really good reputation throughout for caring for our candidates and also for delivering for our clients. So with more than 20,000 successful deployments to the UK, 100% success for registration. So in order to register as a nurse in the UK, you need to now undertake a test of competence. And our colleague, Paul from ATS, will talk you through that in a moment. But it's important to know that if you compare our stats with the NMC stats, so the NMC is the Nursing Midwifery Council in the UK, you will see that some nurses don't pass the test of competence. Our nurses do. Okay, so if you are recruited via Drake Maddox, you will have access to free CBT and OSCE training to help you pass the test of competence. We have an expert team working with us, and we'll guide and support you every step of the way and help you through the process. It's, you know, to make it as smooth as possible for you. And we are ethical recruiters. We truly care about you. Next slide, please. Okay, so we have opportunities across the UK. If you're looking at this map on the screen now, you will see that it's very heavy with hospitals in and around the Greater London area. And that's because, London being the capital has the most hospitals and has the biggest shortages. But we also have vacancies and a need in the northeast of the UK as well. Next slide, please. If you go to our website, our landing page, you'll be able to see in detail each of the hospital trusts that we're recruiting for. And if you click on any of these pages for Barts Health, for Central London Community Trust, for Chelsea Westminster, etc., it will open an e-brochure for you. So you'll be able to get a lot of information about the hospital itself, the organization, the area that you'll be living in, what the opportunities are, what the offer is from the trust. So it's well worth taking a look and seeing, what might suit you best. Thank you. Next slide, please. Oh, there was a QR code there as well that I missed. So what's the process of becoming a registered nurse or a registered midwife in the UK? It's fairly straightforward. I have to put on my glasses. So there's two elements to the process. One is the NMC process, i.e. how do you register with the Nursing and Midwifery Council in the UK? And the second one is the, thanks Trudy, the pre-employment checks that have to be done. So the employment process. So you can start your online application with the NMC at any time. You will have to pass an English language test, and there'll be more information about that shortly, unless you're in one of the English-speaking countries. Then pass the CBT, an exam you can take in your own country, and then just complete your online application. So that process is relatively straightforward, but again, we can support and guide you with that. At the same time, if you've got a job offer, so you've met the criteria to go for interview with one of our employers in the UK, and then we have to start your employment process. So interview, job offer, pre-employment checks. So these are, the standard things like references, verifying your qualification, background checks, police check, and occupational health clearance, etc., and then confirming ID. So all of those can be done in tandem. You don't need to do one before the other. And once everything is completed, your employer will assign you a certificate of sponsorship, will apply for your visa, and you'll be traveling to the UK. Take your OSCE and become a registered nurse or midwife. Thank you, Judy. Excuse me. So for the English language proficiency, it comes as a little bit of a surprise to some nurses, depending on the countries you're living in, that you may not be deemed or recognized as a majority English speaking country. Trudy has kindly put a QR code here also so that you can check out the list that the Nursing and Midwifery Council in the UK deem to be English speaking countries. So for example, those of you lovely nurses joining us from South Africa, you may be very proficient in speaking English, but it's not deemed an English speaking country. So you will still have to take an English language test. And then there are two options for the ELT, which is the IELTS and the OET. The IELTS is a lot of people are familiar with it because it's been around for a long time, but a lot of people also struggle with this a little bit because you do have to attend classes and prepare for what's in the exam. So both exams will test you on reading, writing, listening, and speaking. The OET, which is the occupational English test, it's a bit more expensive to take the exam, but usually people only have to take it once. And the reason why it's a bit easier is because it's occupation based. So, for example, you will be asked questions about working in a hospital setting for that type of thing. So it's well worth preparing. We do have some links with English language centres who are offering um, discounts to our nurses. So get in touch if you want to know more about that. QR code again is worth looking at, and that will take you straight to the English language requirements for the NMC. It's got nothing to do with us or your employers. It's the Nursing Midwifery Council in the UK who set these standards. And next slide, please. What is the cost? So we get asked this a lot, and we are aware that there are nurses paying fees to recruitment agencies, particularly when they're going to other countries. When you are being recruited to the UK, you should not pay a single penny, peso, rupee, nothing to anybody. So we never charge any fees to our candidates, but also anybody recruiting into the UK is not permitted to charge fees to candidates. So be very wary if anybody is asking you for money or saying, we can do this for you if you pay X, Y, or Z. So no cost for the recruitment or placement or anything like that. There are some costs that you will have to pay out for, such as your English language exam to the test centre, such as your NMC application fee, and you pay that direct to the NMC. Usually the employer picks up a lot of the costs and they will often refund things like your English language test, your CBT exam, your OSCE exam. They will pay for your certificate of sponsorship, your immigration skills charge. They will pay for your visa. They'll pay for your flight to the UK. They're really, really very good. We only work with the best employers and they're very accommodating. So just please be aware that you shouldn't be paying any fee to any recruitment company. Thank you. Next. When you get to the UK, woohoo, our team will be there to meet and greet you at the airport usually, and we'll give you a welcome pack with lots of goodies. You'll see that you'll get one of these fob watches, some pens, little different bits and pieces. Most importantly, contact details for us, for your embassy or consulate in the UK, and also a SIM card, a prepaid SIM card for your mobile phone, so you can straight away make that first phone call home. And that's really important for everybody, right? Say, I've arrived, I'm happy, Drake is here, they're minding us, and we're on our way to the hospital accommodation. Okay, thank you, Judy. And then, of course, while you're in the UK, so it is expected from employers that you and hoped that you will spend at least 3 years with them. The job offers that you get will be permanent job offers, so they're not limited, but usually they will assign a sponsorship certificate and visa for 3 years. And we hope that you'll stay with that employer who's funded everything and really needs you and looking after you. So in terms of Drake Medocs, again, the meet and greet and welcome pack, that's fine. Our contact details. We also now do cultural and diversity training for everybody online before you come to the UK. Why is that important? Well, in the UK, we do have a very diverse population. So we're very lucky. We have people from all parts of the world, different cultures. Some nurses, if they haven't left their own home country, are maybe not used to living and working with people from different backgrounds, and it's really important that we tune into that and that we help you to make those adjustments. The world is an exciting place, and it's always good to meet different people and be open-minded and supportive. So we will also offer advice and support. If you need us, you can contact us at any time. Your employer, of course, as we said, we work for the best employers in the UK. So they're eager to have you. They're very welcoming. They organize your accommodation for when you first arrive. So that you have somewhere to sleep that night, usually for a month or two, sometimes longer. It depends on what accommodation they're sourcing. They will provide you with a comprehensive induction and orientation to the hospital, the organization, living and working in the UK, and being a nurse in the UK. And they will support you with preparation for your OSCE exam. And this is very important. So they put a lot of effort into that as well. Why? They want you to succeed. They want you to be successful, to pass, to become a registered nurse as soon as possible, and to fulfill the role that you've been hired for. Ongoing mentorship and preceptorship, this is really important. Ongoing support and training. And of course, pastoral care. This is a key element for internationally educated nurses who are coming to a new country, to be, looked after. People don't always choose to leave their home and their families, as a first choice, if you like, if they were being paid well in their own country, for example. So sometimes it's a necessity to go overseas, and it's important that we understand that people get homesick, they miss, their food, whatever it is, their friends and family. So the pastoral care setting is really important. We also have contacts because we've deployed so many nurses from different countries. There will usually be nurses from your own culture, country, background, also working in the NHS. So we'll put you in touch with them. Thank you, Trudy. Uh, this is a kind of a joke. We wrote the book. Well, actually, in terms of how to become a UK registered nurse, I, along with two nurse educators in the NHS, wrote this book. So it's a guide on how to the whole process of becoming a registered nurse in the UK, but most importantly, the role of a nurse in the UK, because it is slightly different depending on which country you're working in, what's expected of a nurse, what it is you're expected to do, and your behavior, etc. So all of that is in the book. We have updated it recently, and it's now in ebook format so that you can get that direct to your mobile phone or to your laptop and access the links, the useful links that are in there. So now you just have to press on the link and you can go to get more information. It's well worth a read. You can purchase this on Amazon for £15, but if you're recruited through Drake Medox, you'll be gifted it for free, so you don't need to buy it. Next. Yay! Beautiful nurses, so amazing, arriving in our airports. And so they're so happy to see them always. And it's the best part of our week, every week, is meeting these nurses and seeing them land safely and getting them to their new employers. So we've done a lot of recruitment from a lot of different countries, and to date, we have recruited nurses from 29 different countries that have been deployed to the UK, and trained by our partners at ATS. And Paul will talk to you more about that in a moment.
Thank you very much, Mairead.
No?
That was absolutely fascinating. That's, I think, a really excellent time for us to switch over. You've introduced a little bit already, ATS. So without further ado, I will welcome Paul. Thank you very much again. Hello, Paul. Welcome.
Hi, Misty. Thank you.
Hello.
Welcome.
So, hello, everybody. I'd like to introduce Paul. As I mentioned, he is the training manager at ATS Learning Centre, and he is going to be here to give you expert CBT and OSCE advice. So, over to you, Paul.
Thank you, Misty. So, again, thank you for that wonderful introduction. I'm from ATS Learning Center. So, I'm training manager, and later on, you will meet the team who will be entertaining your inquiries later on if you're interested with enrolling with ATS. So, on the next slide, I'll inform or I'll show you the team member. Okay, so here ATS is an international organization offering CBT and OSCE exams. So earlier, Ms. Marie, our director of international recruitment, mentioned to you those tests of competence, right? So those computer-based tests, the CBT and OSCE, those are the exams that you need to pass for you to be able to be part of the NMC registry or to start your UKRN. So just to brief introduce my co-trainers with ATS. So we have Lowell, and Lowell, by the way, is a former UKRN. He practiced in the United Kingdom roughly 15 years. So no trainer can be credible more than that. So also with Jessa, right? So I'm with Jessa, and her expertise would be adult OSCE as well, together with Lowell. But later on, I will show you the different services that we offer as well. And of course, me, Paul Perlan from ATS, I'll be answering also your questions later on regarding the CBT and OSCE. Okay, so just to give you a bit of a background, on the next slide, I'll be showing you what does ATS um, what are the services from ETS, and what are the things that you should pass for you to be able to start your UKRN dream. So with NMC, or the Nursing and Midwifery Council, you need to pass first your computer-based test. Okay, so this exam, you need to take this on your country of origin. Of course, if there are nurses that we've trained from Saudi Arabia, UAE, right? That's what Ms. Marie mentioned earlier. We are international organizations, so therefore we train nurses all over the world, and if you're from United States as well, and United Kingdom, right? So NMC also requires you, after passing the CBT, the OSCE, which is the Objective Structured Clinical Examination. So just to give you a short introduction of those exam on the next slide, these are the questions that you would expect on your computer-based test. So it is composed of two parts, Part A and Part B. So Part A is numeracy. Obviously, it will ask you about calculations. Okay, so most of the nurses usually say that they know how to compute, they know how to get the flow rate, but guys, nurses, there are technicalities with answering the CBT exam, and we from ATS will be guiding you on how to properly answer those questions. Okay, and also the blueprints, right? Some of you might not want to read very long blueprints, so we will be discussing to you all of those for you to be able to pass your CBT exam. And uh, on the next slide, it will show you the price. Okay, of course, the exam comes with a price, with a cost. So roughly in pounds, it is 83 pounds, right, for computer-based test. And some nurses will not successfully pass the CBT exam in one sitting. Therefore, they need to resit or retake the exam. And it will cost you the same amount, 83 pounds. And if you will pass only the part B, for example, and you need to retake the part A, it will cost you 50 pounds. And for part B, it's 70 pounds. So as you can see there, the green colored box, ATS service for CBT training is only 20 pounds. So you have a savings of what? Roughly 70 to 80%, right? So that's a big savings for you nurses, because with ATS, you have a higher chances of passing your CBT exam, of course, together with your OSCE exam. Okay. So just to break down more of the CBT exam on the next slide, these are the things that you would expect for your numeracy exam. So as you can see here, you are allowed to use your calculators. For those who are asking, or for those of you who are wondering, am I allowed to use a calculator on my exam? Of course, yes. Okay. So, but the thing is, with numeracy, some of the nurses are already jumping on the answer, uh, but we will guide you with ATS and give you tips on how to answer it correctly. And with Part B clinical, it is comprised of 100 questions, more of the theoretical part of your nursing practice. Okay. So where can you take your CBT exam? Of course, I'll discuss that after. So you just go ahead, because Person View caters internationally, or all. around the globe, their CBT exam. So you can just go ahead and type this on your browser, www.pearsonview.com, and you can go ahead and check where's the nearest test center in your country. Okay. So with ATS services, on the next slide, I'll discuss to you briefly on what are the services that we offer for the CBT. So as you all know, when you go to the United Kingdom, you need to have a specialization, right? So you need to be specialized with adult nursing, pediatric or children's nursing, and mental health. And of course, let's not forget our midwives. We are training also midwives for their CBT and OSCE. Okay. So for ATS CBT courses or program, of course, as mentioned earlier by Miss Marae, compared to NMC registry, ATS has 100% pass rate. Okay, so for you have a 28-day access of our portal. So this is online. I know nurses, right? I was once a bedside nurse. I am actually an intensive critical ICU nurse. So I know how busy nurses are. So if you have this 28 days access self-paced review, you don't have the pressure, right? You are not pressured by someone to go ahead and review the module one of our program. We can go ahead and just let you be or let you review during your rest day, right? So if your rest days are weekend, you can go ahead and log in, have your laptop or mobile phone, log in onto your account that we which will give you after enrolling, and then you can go ahead and review our recorded videos as well. And we have thousands of mock exams in the module. Okay. uh, some of you are interested right now, maybe. Okay, so some of you are wondering how much does the CBT course from ATS cost? So next slide, please. Okay, so for CBT review, this is not the exam, the CBT review program of ATS, it will cost you £20 or roughly $27. For those of you want to compute that on your currency, go ahead and a lot of cheaper, right? Compared to taking again the CBT exam or taking partially the part A or part B. So that's a big savings for you. So that's it for the CBT. Let's go ahead and continue with the OSCE exam. So this is the next test, the second part of test of competence that you need to pass for you to be able to have your NMC pin. Okay, that's what the goal for you to once you get deployed in the United Kingdom. And again, nurses, compared to your computer-based test, OSCE will be taken in the United Kingdom. Okay, so later on I will discuss which test taking centers can cater your OSCE exam in the UK. So with here currently on my slide, so what is OSCE? Your OSCE exam will comprise of 10 stations. Okay, here the 10 stations, four will be the API. So that's assessment, planning, implementation, and evaluation. Okay, as you can see here, if you will look on the right side of the slide, they will give you 20 minutes to finish the assessment part. Okay, so all of us nurses know that why it is the long. If you will observe, it's the longest part of APIE, right? Because in the assessment part, that's where you will rely your planning, implementation, and evaluation. Okay, so that's why they'll give you ample time to finish and do comprehensively your assessment with your, of course, your patient there will be an actor. Okay, on your OSCE exam. So that's four. And there are two more skill stations would be a writing station. So that's professional values and evidence-based practice. So based on the feedback of our nurses, this is one of the well for them most of the nurses mentioned that it's one of the challenging part of the OSCE exam. Okay, so we will give you tips on how to do it or how to compose your answers with your evidence-based practice or EBP or and professional values or PV. And again, this is a writing station, so no need to converse with your examiner. By the way, examiner or assessor would be the one assessing your OSCE exam all throughout the day. Okay, so that's six, and and the remaining four of the OSCE exam would be a technical skill. So here on the next slide, okay, on this next slide, so this is what I've mentioned earlier, four APIE and then two writing stations. And on the next slide, the remaining four will be chosen among the written skill stations that you can see on your slide. Yes, nurses, it's for real. That's 20 skill stations that they will choose from, and you will not be given a heads up on what skill station they will choose. uh, so the tricky part here is you should really know by heart the marking criteria which is provided by NMC, and of course from ATS we will discuss that and discuss comprehensively the marking criteria which you need to pass for the OSCE exam. Again, nurses, if you are not familiar with the marking criteria, it's the checklist that where the assessor or the examiner will be guided on how to give you score for your OSCE exam. Again, for OSCE, there's no percentage for grades. It's only pass or fail. I'll discuss furthermore later on with your OSCE exam. And yes, um, unfortunately, 20 skill stations is not enough, right? So on the next slide, NMC um, do update their requirements for the marking criteria for your OSCE exam. So they added 6 stations for the adult OSCE exam. And nurses, if you go ahead and look online, there's a limited resources for this one because it's newly added. They actually added this a year ago, but there are few resources if you go to social media. But with ATS, we go ahead and discuss you with this skill stations further so that you can go ahead and be informed of how they do this skills nursing skills in the UK. Okay, so next slide, please. So how much does your OSCE exam will cost, right, in the UK? So it's £794. Yes, it's that much, the test fee. For your full receipt, again, if you need to retake the exam, it's 794 and partially. Why do we have partially? Because, for example, out of 10 skill stations, you only fail, for example, two, right? Skill station, you do not need to retake all of it. Okay, what the skill stations that you fail, that's the skill stations that you will just need to resit or retake, and it will cost you £397 compared to the ATS OSCE review program, which is only will cost you £100. So it's a big saving for you and also confidence before you arrive in the United Kingdom. As what mentioned earlier, as perks of Drake Maddox, if you will be deployed by Drake Maddox, you will be prepared by your employer as well for your OSCE. But since in OSCE, you are required to technically review less than 30 skill stations, including the APIE and the writing stations, you need to be fully prepared, right? So it's best that you go prepared before going to the United Kingdom. So with ATS, we do online training for this all over the world. Okay, so this is a big savings for you nurses compared to the receipt of £794 and £793 for full receipt and partial receipt respectively. Okay, next slide, please. So with UK OSCE training for ATS Learning Center, so how do we conduct our training? So it's a 2-day live training sessions. It's in interactive online session actually. So nurses can ask in between while we're discussing. If you are not, if somehow you do not feel that the discussion is not enough, you can go ahead and contact us, and we can arrange a one-on-one consultation to erase some confusion and also to answer all of your inquiries that was not discussed during the live discussion. And free UKRN book, as mentioned earlier by Miss Mireille. She's one of the author of this book, and it will cost you $14 or £10 if you will not be deployed by Direct Maddox. So if this is one of the perks, right? So this is another savings for you nurses, right? So we are giving you a lot of savings with Drake Maddox and ATS. So how much does the services of OSCE from the CBT? It's on the next slide. Yes, so it's £100 or roughly $135. Okay, so what does the program comprise of? So again, it's a self-paced 28 days online review of OSCE trainings, and also we have other reference materials that are UK based. Again, nurses, please be minded that there are a lot of OSCE around the world, so they have not only from the United Kingdom. You don't want to be misguided, right? So with ATS Learning Center, we will just teach you the UK standards of nursing practices. Okay. On the next slide, So here we have, of course, training materials that are provided by our partner Jake Maddox. Of course, these are the training materials that are exclusively used in the United Kingdom. Raise your hand, nurses, if you're familiar with this syringe, the Eclipse syringe. So some of you might be confused. We don't have that. We only have the syringe that has a cap. Of course, in the UK, they innovate syringes for them to be able to avoid needle stick injury and for you to be able to practice intramuscular injection efficiently and of course safely in the United Kingdom, you need to be also familiar with the equipment and materials that they're using there. And some of the nurses, that's one of the challenges for them. They're not familiar with the equipment, hence when they arrive in the UK, they're somehow confused. So with ATS Learning Center, yes, it's online, but we have the equipment's live and we can show you virtually on how to use it and how you can prepare with your OSCE exam. Okay. So on the next slide, we will boast again the UKRN ebook authored by Miss Mairead. Okay. So this is somehow a the Bible for the OSCE or the nursing, not only for OSCE but for CBT exam as well. So this is where the marking criteria also, some of the marking criteria informations are detailed, discussed in detailed, right? So you will purchase this if you will not be deployed by Drake Maddox and not trained by ATS. But if you will be coming with us, this would be coming for free. Okay. So, yes, nurses, I'm about to end my presentation. So, keep your questions coming. On the next slide, why choose us? Again, compared, if you will look on your upper right of the slide, you can see the NMC registry passing rate compared to us. Okay, so if you do not pass in one sitting, again, we will help you with your second resit or on your resit. And that's why with ATS Learning Center, no one is failing. Okay, we always encourage and give you confidence. We give you tips. Of course, we hear some feedback from our previous nurses. We will share you with those information so that you can go ahead and be prepared with your CBT and OSCE exam. And on the next slide, this is what our nurses tells about us, just to give you a push to enroll with ATS for our computer-based test and objective structured clinical exam services training review. Okay. So here, please scan our code. It will direct you on our web page. If you want to know more, if there are things that I haven't discussed, if you want to inquire and ask some information that I have didn't discuss now, you can go ahead and scan our code, and it will direct you on our website. It will show you as well the services that we offer for CBT and OSCE. We have adult OSCE, pediatric, mental health nursing, and of course midwifery CBT exam. Okay. So, on my last slide, all Jake Maddox nurses and midwives, listen carefully, nurses, will get a free CBT and OSCE training with ATS. Of course, once you have a job offer. So this is again, I think this is my third big savings for this day for those nurses who are interested. Again, this is a big savings for you. You will get it for free, the ATS services for CBT and OSCE if you get deployed by Jake Maddox. So, yay! Hope to see you later. That's it for me.
Thank you so much, Paul. I really appreciate all of your helpful tips and advice, and it's great to see how by training with ATS, you really are saving yourself any potential reset fees. So that's really, really excellent. Right, well, we're going to open it up now for a Q&A session. So I'm going to bring Mairead back in, and let's have a look at some questions. I believe the team have been answering questions throughout the live session, and we are now going to see a selection of them on screen. Bran, Irene, let's see what we have. All right, so the first question is, what employment gap is accepted? So that's a recruitment question. So Mairead, you are perfectly placed to answer that one, please.
Most employers in the UK would like you to have recent experience in a clinical setting, but will make allowances for like 6 months to potentially 12 months. It really depends on how much nursing experience you had before the gap. And some employers will be more flexible than others. So that's individual to the employer. There's no sort of set rule on that one. Sorry.
Right. Thank you very much. Do we have another question there from our viewers? All right. OSCE for children. What is the difference between that and adult OSCE? That is from Queen on Facebook. Paul, could you answer that one, please?
Of course, my pleasure. For pediatric OSCE, that's a bit tricky. So I will not give the full information, Queen. I'll let you enroll with our services, but to give you a glimpse, the parents has a big part with children OSCE. Why? Of course, they need to help with to calm your patient, which is the pediatric patient, right? So that's one of the tricky part there. So we will discuss that further once you enroll with ATS.
Just to clarify, in some countries, you just register as a general nurse. In the UK, you have the option to register as a general adult nurse, a pediatric nurse, a mental health nurse, or a learning disabilities nurse. So there are different parts of the register for those. So if your background and your specialty is pediatrics, you have the option to take the pediatric OSCE instead of the adult one and become a registered sick children's nurse in the UK.
Thank you, Mairead, and thank you, Paul. Right, let's see what other questions we have lined up. This is one we're asked a lot. Can we
Mm-hmm.
bring our dependents on the same deployment date when we come to the UK? This is something that I know is dear to a lot of people. Mairead, are you
Yes,
able to answer that?
we get asked a lot. There are occasions when nurses will bring their spouse or children or both, when they're being deployed to the UK. It's very challenging, and we would always advise against it. Why? So, number one, your employer would be sourcing accommodation for you as a single person, so they won't be able to accommodate families. Number two, you would need to have enough money and be very organized to try and rent someplace yourself before you even arrive in the country. The third one, you need to be focused on preparing for your OSCE exam and securing your NMC registration. And that's very difficult to do if you have family with you and you're looking after children and you're concerned about people. Number four, it's not cheap to live in the UK. It's expensive to have rent your own accommodation. And really, you need to be a fully registered nurse on a registered nurse salary before you consider bringing family over. So we would always advise to come on your own and to settle in, get used to the place, get used to your new work environment and the cost of living so that you can properly assess and prepare for your family members joining you. That's our advice strongly.
Thank you, Mairead. Yes, excellent advice indeed. And of course, having deployed over 20,000 nurses and other healthcare professionals to the UK, I know that that is coming from a place of experience and empathy with everybody. We know you don't want to be
Sure.
apart from your families, but sometimes you just need to take that little bit of time to prioritize and to get yourself sorted. So thank you very much for that. Right, do we have any other questions there that we can answer while we've got our experts here? Oh, okay. How many skills stations will I need to demonstrate in the OSCE? Paul, over to you, our expert.
Okay, so for OSCE, again, it's 10 skill stations. The six out of 10 will be automatically the APIE and then the professional values and evidence based. There's no question about that. But the tricky part is the four remaining skill stations, which you need to review all of the possible skill stations, which is actually 26. Okay, so you
Wow.
need to be prepared about that.
Thank you for that. Okay. Oh, it looks like we've lost Mairead. I think she was having some technical issues. So in that case, our wonderful people managing the comments, have we got any other questions for Paul here? That's an excellent question. How
Yeah.
many times can I take the CBT or the OSCE? Because we have been
Okay.
talking about resits, haven't we?
Yeah. So nice questions. For CBT, you can retake or resit this 3 times. Okay. But for the third time, if you're not able to pass it for the third time, of course you need to wait for about 6 months for you to be able to retake it again. As I mentioned earlier, you will take this on your country of origin, but the OSCE exam will be taken only in the United Kingdom. And let's you go to the United Kingdom, you have a conditional visa, and one of the condition of that would be for you to pass your OSCE exam. So for OSCE, you can retake this for 3 times. For if you failed, unfortunately, the third time, you need to prepare again, but you cannot stay in the United Kingdom during your preparation after the third failed OSCE exam. So let's save time, right? And also money for you to be able to pass the OSCE. And with ATS again, we have 100 passing
Absolutely.
rate.
And that you're so right, Paul. I mean, there's a lot of pressure when taking exams.
Yeah.
I know we can all just have a moment that we feel flustered. So anything we can do to prepare, and especially
Mhm.
when what's at stake is potentially having to be repatriated,
Yeah.
certainly having that extra support from the team at ATS will definitely help. I can see Mairead has come back. So welcome back, Mairead. Sorry for the technical
Thanks.
issues there.
Technical issue. Yeah, sorry about that.
So do we have any other questions for Mairead now that she's back to take advice? Oh, here we go. This is a question from, oh, I'm not going to pronounce this very well, but Sile. She says, I'm currently a mental health nurse for 1 year and 6 months, but I have 3 years as a midwife prior to this. What are my options? I'm a registered nurse in South Africa. Mairead, can you
Yay.
answer that one?
Well done, you, um, for being a mental health nurse and a midwife. Um, we have jobs for midwives at the moment, but not mental health nurses currently. Now, there are options for mental health nurses if you want to, if that's your priority and that's where you want to work. So you could apply directly via NHS jobs to look for a mental health nurse job if that's what you prefer. If you would like to be a midwife in the UK, there's a really great need for experienced midwives, and we'd be happy to help you with that. So it's really up to you. You can only register as one or the other. So if you register as a midwife using your training that you did in South Africa, you can only register on one part of the register in the UK. So you need to make that decision yourself and decide if you're coming to the UK, what's your preference for working.
Excellent. And I'm sure that Sile would be able to speak with our recruitment team when she's ready to apply, once she's
Mm-hmm.
passed her English language. She can speak to our team and find out what vacancies and opportunities we have right now so that we can make sure she puts that forward. Oh, we've answered that question. We have been going for quite a while now. I can see we've got lots more questions. Have we got one more that we can answer now before we close for the day? Oh, okay. Another excellent question. We get
A
asked this a
lot.
lot, which is there an age limit? Mairead, over to you.
Again, I think when we first started doing international recruitment of nurses, which is more than 20 years ago, the lines are starting to show. More than 20 years ago, we became aware that in some countries there is an age limit in terms of applying for jobs. In the UK, there isn't. As long as you're fit for purpose, you can do the role. It doesn't matter whether you're 20, 40, or 60. You can apply, and so there's no restrictions there.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Right, I can see we're coming to the end of our time, so we'll leave it there. As I mentioned at the beginning, we have got a number. We will be emailing everybody that registered for the event afterwards with the answers to these questions, plus all the links that we have been referring to throughout the presentation. And of course, please visit our website, drakemeddox.co.uk, and you can click on the links there, or info.atslearningcentre.com. Again, we'll share those links with everybody. And of course, we're on Facebook as well if you want to message us directly, either Facebook for Drake Maddox or for ATS. Thank you very much. Thank you so much to
We
Mairead.
we need you, nurses, amazing nurses and midwives. So don't delay. At least log in and look at the information. Start thinking about it. We can get you to the UK relatively quickly, as long as you're motivated and driven. And we really appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Paul, also. Thank you both for all of your help and advice today.
My pleasure. Thank you, Miss
Thank
Dee.
you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye.